It's called EPIC, the Exotic Pet Industry Conference, and it's free to register at epic.live. EPIC is over 20 special guests across 16 sessions covering industry trends, marketing, branding, podcasting, and YouTube. EPIC is for pet keepers and breeders. It's for gecko and invert lovers. It's for snake and spider lovers. EPIC is for anyone who enjoys these amazing animals. Did I mention it's free? Register now at epic.live.
Gotta love that guy. It was his brainchild, and he has really helped grow that thing to what it is, and I can't thank him enough.
Oh, he's done a lot, that's for sure. This is going to be awesome.
Dread, let me see about getting us into the scene here. And
yeah, I'm excited to see all this coral, this reef stuff, and to learn all the mechanics. I was a power plant guy, so I understand RO systems and filtration to a point, where we actually did all the maintenance on them. I mean, this is big industrial. 1 million gallons of water, every day.
Let's see here. You know what? My video boxes aren't coming up, and it is being a bit tricky. Couldn't tell you why. Our video boxes, Dread, have cursed us.
Well,
it looks like we're floating out there in space. Let's take a look-see on the old YouTube right quick.
No, it's still showing NOUGHTY. I'm watching. I see it.
Well, Tony, we have not had our video boxes is kind of the base thing. Without the video boxes, we're just a radio show.
Mission said, you done broke it now. Right?
It's got I see the boxes highlighted. Let's see here.
Yeah, I'm highlighted now too.
They're as if they're floating in space. They're there as an image, but our faces aren't there. We're just ghosts speaking from the background.
I mean, even if you can get Tony up on the screen.
He says, you done broke it now. They said, you sound good, though.
The comment popped up.
Yeah, comments are working.
Yeah.
But I see the video box is ghosted out. Sir Tony, but can't say we've had that difficulty before.
No, not this one.
This has been we've been here since what, February 1st? This is a new mystery problem.
Dude, it runs smooth though. The last show, I mean, the last two shows.
The last couple have worked really well.
And the last show was really good.
It's all of it acts completely normal. It's a ghosted out box. Hell, well, that sucks.
If it will.
Okay. Well, we're just gonna have to run it a little different, and I'm just.
Well, there you are. There we go.
Well, I'm having to use a different scene. This is This is not the huge, but if I can make it work.
Yeah, if we can get Tony up there, then let's run with it.
Yep. I'm just gonna have to tinker with it on the fly because it's not for some reason this base scene ain't loading. But you know what? I ain't worried about that.
Yeah.
Let's get us over here, and Dread, we're gonna fly with this bad boy here. There, that's pretty close to our huge.
All right,
guys, welcome to the show. Welcome, Tony of Misfit Corals. Y'all get ready to look at to get educated, right? I don't know anything, so I'm gonna sit back and enjoy.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. Where are
Oh
you
yeah.
coming from? What part of the country are you in, sir?
So we are in Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina. So we are just on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, right on the beach. So it's basically we're the Myrtle Beach area. So like my stuff ships out of Myrtle Beach, and we're right on the water there. I can hear the ocean out my front door.
Oh, that's nice.
So awesome.
Yeah, it's nice when it's not tourist season. So from Memorial Day to Labor Day, you kind of got to drive a different way. Don't even bother trying to go to the beach. Saturdays are a wreck because in the morning they move out and the new people come and move in. So, but the rest of the year, you still got 2 months of beautiful time from September and October, and then even in April and May. So we enjoy it.
Hmm. I lived in
All
Clearwater for
right.
about 5 years, and I remember, yeah, from Thanksgiving to Easter was the snowbirds, which they're of a certain demographic age,
Right.
and so driving, you had snowbird season, and then you
Yep.
had the tourists, kids, family season. It was definitely a traffic something to consider. No matter what time of year, there was something to consider with traffic. Different
Right.
parts, either the coast is jammed up or all the normal roadways on the surface, depending on what time of the year. So I can sympathize. I love North Carolina, though; it's beautiful. South Carolina, I love that whole region. I could see myself living there. It's beautiful over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's nice, and that's the thing is that they're building and building and building and building. So every time you're driving, to the mall or something, it's like, man, that used to be all trees, and now it's just all cleared out, like as far as you can see, and it's like, oof. And but it is what it is, and everyone likes to come live here, so come on in because I did the same thing when we moved here 5 years ago. So
Yeah, all right on. So tell us about how you got started, man. How long you been dealing with? I've touched base with you some. My information's outdated.
okay,
I was a big time hobbyist from a little kid up, and then I got into it commercially for a decade. But I got out in like '07. But I had done it for about 10 years, 5 in St. Louis and 5 in Clearwater, Tampa, St. Pete. And then,
so obviously I had the little freshwater tanks when I was a kid. you know, Dad had me have the goldfish tanks,
yeah,
and then when I grew up and moved out, I didn't have fish or nothing, right? So then when I had my first townhouse when I was in my young 20s, I was like, I want a fish tank, and I want a saltwater tank, and I didn't know nothing, and the guy at the fish store didn't put me in the right direction of nothing, and it didn't work out. I put it away. I met my wife. We had kids. Time went by. My daughter's 9. We lived in Jacksonville, Florida, and she's like, I want a little beta fish tank. And that was when the warehouse was up the street. So, like the Amazon warehouse, I ordered stuff at like 7 o'clock in the morning while she was telling me at breakfast, and that thing had water in it by dinner time.
that's awesome.
A week later, I had a 75-gallon tank that I was setting up to put an Oscar fish in.
Nice.
So that
That
started.
escalated quickly.
So that escalated quickly, and she reminds me every day. It's all because of her beta fish that all this is happening. And so once I started doing the Oscar thing, and I did that for about a year, I discovered the saltwater thing, and I said I'll try a small 13-gallon. And that maybe went about 6 months, and then I upgraded to like a 65-gallon. It was about 36 inches wide, and I did pretty well with that. And then that's when COVID happened, and it that's how we ended up moving to North Carolina with COVID and work from home. My wife retired from her position she was in, and we were able to relocate to where people go on vacation. So that's how we ended up here. So I said, well, when we move, I want a 6-foot tank because I want to put tangs. The fox face over here. I'm pointing in all the wrong directions.
Yeah,
I
we see
wanted
them.
all the fish I wanted to get needed at least a 72-inch long, 6-foot long tank. So when we moved there, we stayed with my father-in-law for 3 months while we looked for a house, and it's amazing because we're looking for houses, and I'm measuring where a 6-foot tank's going to go.
Priorities.
So, and I actually had already found the tank on Facebook Marketplace. The guy held it for me. It was my 180-gallon. And we moved in, and a week later, I went and picked up the tank, and it took a few months before we had it up and running, and it was a nightmare. I followed all the rules. I dumped all the money into the right lights. I mean, I went with the approach to do it right the first time, and the one thing I skimped on bit me in the butt. So that tank was the bane of my existence for 2 years. Algae all over the place. Corals would I would load it with corals, and then they would start to grow and then slowly wilt away. And what I skimped on was rock. I used all my old rock from Jacksonville, and then the guy I got the 180 from had all his old rock. Well, all that rock does in the reef aquarium is it's housing bacteria and things that you can't see live in that rock. Well, when it sits in a garage for a year, it dries out and all that stuff dies. So when you put it in your aquarium, it starts releasing all that as phosphate and nitrate, and that's what feeds the hair algae on the rocks that you can't get rid of.
Yep.
So once we discovered that that was probably my problem, I pulled every single rock out of it, put all new rock in, and then I put all new sand in, added coral 6 months later, and everything just started growing. And then I eventually upgraded to a Red Sea tank about 8 months after that transition. So, so I've had that Red Sea tank now for 2 years. I ended up finding that used as well through the local, through the LFS, and it comes available for sale. And never buy a new reef system.
Never buy a new reef system?
Never buy a new reef system. Facts.
Why?
My Red Sea reefer to buy brand new with just a sump, it's like $7,000, $8,000 plus whatever delivery is. Mine was 2 years old. It was set up by my LFS, maintained by my LFS. It was a doctor that owned it. I got it for $1,200.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Never buy a new reef tank. So I just bought another one that I'm going to start growing it all high SPS in. And it's basically a 4 foot long Red Sea. It's a Max S500, and it's basically a 120, which is 48 inches by 24 by 24.
I was going to ask about the depth. Okay,
yeah,
just answered that.
That's about common. Companies are changing, so usually you got your 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, and usually it's 24 by 24. If you see the shallow ones, they call those lagoons, and those are usually about 18 top to bottom. And I got that Red Sea with a skimmer and a good return pump for $1,500.
Man,
it's
nice.
It's a $6,000 system, $5,000 system. So yeah, that's one tip if you take from this. Someone's always upgrading. Someone always wants to get rid of it fast.
Yes.
Be ready to get it if you're ready, because someone's going to be ready, and sometimes you got to drive a little bit. We're in the TikTok community a lot, and this one guy found a 180 gallon, but it was like a triangle tank that you kind of shoved in a corner. Just the equipment alone was worth double what he paid for it. I think it was like $400. Somebody was moving, and the realtor just wanted it out, and you need to come and get it and tear it down, though, was basically how that goes. So yeah, definitely check all your local realtors, because there's always a tank that needs out of there, and they're heavy.
That's awesome. Okay.
Very heavy. So my tank, the glass is over 500 pounds, just the glass.
Yeah, moving those things is another beast. I mean, we had some really high-end suction cups that had brass pistons in them that you put these, they're 10-inch platter suction cups in their own like Pelican type case, and you put them on your aquariums, and you use that brass siphon to suck it down, and it gave aquariums handles so that
Right.
2 to 4 guys could move most mainstream size tanks.
Right. The problem's going through doorways, because you're trying to hold, you're holding it in your shoulder width. You can't have 2 people on a corner. It's tricky. I've seen it. There's with dollies and stuff.
Dollies and styrofoam blocks, high density styrofoam. The biggest thing I remember learning about installation was leverage, using simple machines to your advantage. A furniture dolly that could hold that kind of weight with good quality casters, and also you can put suction cups on a tank that's 500 pounds, and a couple guys can lift it up and shove a 12-inch by 48 by 24-inch styro block on it. Like, it's real dense, and you can lift that side up and then do it to the other side, and then you can get that thing 3 foot in the air
Right.
slowly but surely, 10 inches, well, however thick your styro is, and
Right.
using leverage was the key. There was a few tricks about moving aquariums that were kind of cool, I thought, that made
Yeah.
something impossible possible.
So I was on a tank move once. I got the phone call. It was from the LFS. He's like, "Hey, it's a couple blocks from your house. Can you come help us?" It was a Red Sea 1,000. So that's 1,000 liters. So 180 gallon is 750 liter basically. So it was about like a 220 gallon system,
Hmm.
right? 7 foot long. Well, the guy had already moved out, and he figured, well, we'll move everything out. He got a new tank in the new house, and the plan was he sold the tank. So we were going to move the tank onto the truck so they could haul it off to the new owner. Well, because the climate control was turned off and it sat in a cool house,
Oh,
it had condensation all on the glass. So no matter what we did with hands or the suction cups, it just wanted the suction cups wanted to just slide right off. It was a nightmare. We ended up
wow.
having we had to get a jack and like push the aquarium off of it onto like one of those furniture jacks and then lower it slowly.
Wow.
Wow.
Man. So
So
talk
yeah,
about your TikTok community. I know you're on there a lot with lives. It does
so
pretty well for moving snakes, I know from time to time, or even other animals. How does it work for you? How do you utilize TikTok for your reach?
long story short, man, I started Misfits Corals before I joined TikTok. I did Misfits Corals, and my wife's like, "You got to get on TikTok. You got to get on TikTok." I'm like, "I don't want to touch TikTok. I'm a Facebook guy. No." So I went and signed up, and about 20 minutes later, I'm like, "I can't believe I waited this long." And before you know it, I'm like, "Wow, these people like selling their corals like on live streams." And that's 99% of my sales now. I go live usually Thursdays. We're taking tonight off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and
Oh, well,
Sunday.
thank you.
And I literally stand over my tank and we show the corals, and people say, "Yeah, I like it, sold." And they, send me their email. I send them out an invoice, and we try to ship out one day a week, weather permitting. And it's really cool, and it's not just the sales. Like during the day you'll hop on and it's like somebody will be live and they won't even have a camera up, and it's almost like a Teams call. I'll join, somebody else will join, somebody else will join, and there'll even be 15 people just watching our conversation, and we're just chit chatting Reef, chit chatting Zoas. People will be like, "Well, I just got this Zoa at a frag show," and we'll be like, "Come on up," and we'll invite them up, and they'll show a picture of their Zoa, and we can tell them what it is, if it's a good deal or not, and it's people have an allergy problem, it's kind of like on the fly help. People will
Hmm.
come in and be like, "Hey, we just got a quick question. My fish are all dying. What do I do?" We're like, "Well," and we all try to put our heads together to help this person that either we knew or we just met, and we're gonna say, "Okay, well, let's see if we can help you out." And it ends up being like a community, because then you'll see that username again. You'll be like, "What happened with your tank? Did you figure it out?" And it's more than the sales. It's just the way the fish community is out there. It's we kind of all stick with each other, and we share our experiences and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we found that too in the reptile
Yep.
community, the tarantula community, exotic pets in general. It's really cool to kind of put all them heads together in one space, and then people that have more experience get lots of questions lobbed at them, and then they're happy to help. And it is really really cool. It's really interactive, and I enjoy that a bunch about it. I haven't had time to get on there much these days. It's been crazy since the year has turned. It's hard to
Well,
believe we're halfway through March
that's
already.
right. That's where you found me.
Yes, right.
That's where you found me, and then it's funny because when you found me, my messaging was banned, and I was like, "Hey, you gotta reach out to me somewhere else." So
Right.
let me tell that story. So I'm actually on my way to the aquatic expo that was in North Carolina, just south of Charlotte, and I get a text message from my buddy, and it's a screenshot of somebody who I've never saw the username before, and it was a screenshot of a TikTok, and it was a picture from my website, and it said oversaturation alert, written over my website photo. So then
What?
10 minutes goes by and there's another picture from my website, and the corals really look like that, and it's just how and they put oversaturated over, and it was like a meme, and the guy was dancing around it, basically saying I'm deceiving my customers and blah 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 blah.
Oh,
So I'm 2 hours away. I'm driving in the truck with all my corals and all my tanks, and so it's like, all right, I can't, I'm not going to text. I got to let me cool down. So I get there. I set up, right. So it's 8 o'clock at night, right. I'm up in my hotel room, and I pop out my phone and I go, let's see what everything's happening here. And all the comments are supporting me, so that started to make me feel good. So I click his name and I click message and I said, hey, I don't really appreciate that. I mean, all you have to do is reach out to me. And I said that was a beat move, and it wasn't even
right,
that bad of a word, right?
right.
My messaging got banned for 30 days instantly.
30 days. That's a lot. That's a stiff one.
Right. Now I
Yeah.
can have customers message me their email so I can send them in. I had to, work out of my website.
Mm,
I had to tell people to leave my live to go to the website to order. And luckily I guess if you have a hater, that means you're doing something right.
right.
And it's funny because someone actually bought that coral like a couple weeks later and was like, man, it looks oversaturated just looking at it in my tank. And
Ah,
and it's almost like the inside joke now. Every time someone shows a picture of a coral, it's like, oh, it's oversaturated, and it's like an inside joke, and it just thinks that I had to get banned from my messaging for 30 days because of it. And I even protested it, and it's a hard no. It's like,
Yeah, they don't. That it's ridiculous. It
the nanny
really is.
bots or something
You
else
can
on
get
there.
somebody can just complain, and you get right a shadow banner, and you're
yeah,
done, and you don't even know why. So
right.
Talk about these expos, man. We're well versed in them with the reptile community, and I
Yeah,
didn't realize it till I started digging into your background and seeing some other people that followed your page, and I took that investigation over to Instagram, and I was like, wow, there's these shows, there's these live in person expos.
you know what?
How stressful is it for you to take live corals and give them the proper filtration and water you need to the
So
temperature to get them to look good at a show, and then bring them back and they're not dead?
so this was my first show, and I had a mentor. He's called Broke Budget Reef. He's a fellow TikToker, and and again with the community on TikTok, like he's a competitor, yet he gave me all the advice I needed to succeed at my first show. So I had 36-inch low boy frag tanks, and I want to text you a photo so maybe you can share it. So I had 36-inch low boy frag tanks, and I put the racks I have. It would be so much better if you showed a photo. Let me add it real quick.
Yep, and I'll throw it to my email, and I'll be able to bring it up here in a second.
Right. Yeah. Let me give me 2 seconds, 5 seconds. So the frag racks I have fit into a cooler absolutely perfect. So what I do is there's a cooler and I put the frag racks in it, and done, send. Sorry. So I can put the frag racks in the cooler. Boom. Pull it right out of my frag tank in my frag room, and I can pop it right in the cooler, fill it with the exact same water. And I took 4 frag racks, so I had 4 coolers. And then all the bigger corals, like meat corals or sensitive torches, I bagged them individually like I was going to ship them. I took a big styrofoam shipping box that I got from my wholesaler, and I was able to put those in that box separately. And all the water I took came from my systems. So all the coral was going to be
Okay.
living
So
in
no
the
shock, no
right.
hardness, no
So
pH, no
so
alkalinity shock.
the day before, I added 5 gallons into the tank, then took 5 gallons out, put that bucket aside. Then I went and got 5 gallons of clean water, dumped it into the frag tank, let it mix around. So I was diluting what was in there with the same water. So I basically did a 50% water change on my frag tank.
Okay.
And took all that water with me, and I actually had more than enough. I way overcompensated. And the little mini frag systems, I mean, you're not keeping fish alive, so you're really not worried about ammonia. But I still took 2 cycled media that I could put into the back chambers. They each had
So what was circulating it?
there's a return pump, and it just runs. It's like a mini sump in the behind the aquarium,
Gotcha.
and it flows through the right side, goes through a couple chambers of foam. I actually have a carbon reactor in there, so it can keep the water nice and crystal clear. And it's very low flow because you want the customers to look down and see the jewelry. You know, you want
Right.
them to see all those corals on there. And
Let me do a lot. Let me share this screen. I got it sent over to my email. And here we go. Let's see. Does that?
it looks like it's another window down below.
Let me see here, bud.
Fuck.
There. Okay. Yep. Uh-huh. And let's
Mm-hmm.
see if I can improve upon this. We're flying in a different format than we
That's
normally do.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so you can see I have like I have the two 36-inch frag tables up there.
There we
And then
go. I think that's
yeah,
better.
and I have there's a frag tank, and each frag tank has two racks, and then I have meat corals and such down in the middle. And like I say, you can even see in between the lights, there's a little white little tower. Those are little carbon reactors just to keep the water
Oh,
clear, and there's a little heater back there.
so carbon
And
reactor, carbon
yeah,
reactor.
right, little one for each system. Each system was set up the same way. You can see I had a little section. I had $25 or 3 for 60, and that was the hot section. I basically sold out of that section.
Right here.
Um, yep. I had some nice big meat corals, $500-$600 pieces, and those are more show pieces. It catches people's eyes. It gets them to kind of come over to your booth. And I was supposed to have Mrs. Misfits corals with me, and then we ended up having a situation with puppies at our house, so she had to stay home for a little bit. But yeah, that's my traveling setup, and I was able to basically set that up in about 2 hours by myself, from when I landed there with my truck to when I had corals in
Huh.
there. And I was kind of like, anyone else need help? And I got my stickers all lined up front, and then that was a 2-day show, and I don't know. I came home probably with about half, so it was pretty good. I did pretty good for my first show, and this was actually a dual show. This has a triple show. This had saltwater, this had freshwater side, and it did have the
What's up,
reptile.
Adam?
It had
Huh.
the lizards and the snakes, and yeah, one girl walked by me and she had like a little baby python, and it was wrapped in like a bun, and it was sticking out like looking at me, and like it almost freaked me out. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Comes up to my booth, and I see this like snake pointing out at me, and I was like, what is that? And I couldn't. I'm sorry, I can't remember what she told me it was. It was cool. She wanted me to hold it, but I didn't want to stop sticking my hands in the tank all day. I didn't want it for either me or the animal.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But actually, I just saw the email just came out last night. My next expo's my home show, the Myrtle Beach Frag Fest. That's going to be May 3rd at the Mellow Mushroom in North Myrtle Beach. So it's pretty cool to have a home show and support my LFS and him doing him putting on a home show, and it's pretty cool that it's going to be
So
my
LFS, is that local fish swap?
local fish store. Yes. So I have a LFS in. Can I shout him out? Is that fine?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
bet.
absolutely.
Yeah. So my LFS. His name's Jamrock Corals. And the owner there. His name is Brian Deshanko, and they actually just started a wholesale side as well. So
Oh,
with me being a new business and then him being a new wholesaler, we're kind of working together as kind of rookies in that space. He's been
yeah.
doing the LFS thing for a long time, and now he's doing the wholesale side. And I was able to go and hand pick corals a couple weeks ago. It was nice to go and look and to see what you're going to get, not just in a photo and then hope it ships okay. I was able to pick it out and take it home and have it in my system within an hour.
Yep.
That was really cool to be able to do that and cherry pick what I wanted. And because sometimes you order stuff and it comes in and it's not what you hoped for, and because like I do try to harvest as much as I can, and that's kind of what got me started in the actual Misfits coral with the transition from the hobby to Misfits corals as a business. My torches were just overgrowing themselves here. This guy here's my
Yep.
Hellfire, and they were just overgrowing themselves, and they go for about $100 a head. So I was struggling to sell a double triple head for $100, and I said, well, this is ridiculous. I said, so in the reason I bought these high things was because so if I ever had to frag them or sell them, I could at least make them my initial investment back. And so I said, well, let me see if I can reach out a little further. And then I saw that the shipping prices, unless you were like a business and had a contract, were just through the roof. And I said, you know what? Let's uh let's roll the dice and start something up.
Is it any different than FedEx Priority Live Animal overnight, like it is for reptiles? It's supposed to be there by 9, 10 a.m. the next day. It's got to be marked as live animals. You
Yeah,
know,
we
is it any
market live
different?
animals. It's not. It's by end of day though. It's a little more. I do UPS. UPS has been giving me a better rate, and they usually my customers have it by noon. Um, when there was the fires out in California, everything got behind a couple days. So my customers that week got everything at like 3 or 4 o'clock, but everything still makes it pretty much fine.
So let's talk about. I heard eBay shut down aquatic animals. I don't know if they shut down invertebrates and insects. I haven't looked,
I
but
heard they,
Morph
I heard
Market
someone,
was picking up aquatic shipping. Have you
Yeah, I just
delved into
seen
that at
that.
all?
I heard someone said that they turned that.
Dude, Morph Market shipping is fantastic. Redline shipping, fantastic. I do great with either of them, and I tell you, if they're going to specialize in aquatics, you might want to look into it because eBay, there was a lot of sales on there, and for some reason they shut it down recently. So,
Right. So
um,
I mean, I use a shipping broker, an aftermarket shipping broker, and they beat my original. I was going through like my website, I use a shop. I set up my website through Shopify, and you could ship through them. And then I had another somebody reached out to me on TikTok and said, "Hey, I work for a shipping company, and let's see if we can match your rates."
sweet,
And basically, it was an average of $10 cheaper per package to ship out.
nice. Yeah,
So
and shipping with the right kind of cooling packs or Phase 22s, the dense styro box. I mean,
yeah, I
there's a
use
lot of
the
things that go into it.
yeah, I use the Uline boxes. Actually, I just had a shipment in today. $500 worth. $500 gets me 25 cooler boxes. And I think I had heat packs in there and like in the actual bags because they come in the case of 1,000. So actually, that's pretty good. I started shipping in July, no, October, and I already went through one size of 1,000 bags. So I guess that's a good sign.
That's
How's
pretty
your
good.
mortality rate there? I mean, is
Oh,
it
so
predictable
so
shipping wise?
um, I lost 4 boxes to a storm as a rookie mistake. I looked at where the boxes were going, not where they were transferring. They were transferring in Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't pay attention to that. I'm like, all right, you're going to Pensacola, Florida, you know? Well, all the boxes went to Louisville, Kentucky. There was a snowstorm, and all the boxes sat outside, and all the water got cold, and everything. I lost about $1,000 worth of corals that day
Gotcha.
between the 4 boxes. So I hooked everyone up. Everyone got their store credit minus shipping, and everyone understood, and everyone used their store credit and then some when they bought. So they didn't just use their 250 store credit and then pay for their shipping and get their product. No, they went and bought a few extra pieces. If they were going to order, I might as well get that other piece I was looking at. So that happened once, and that was over the winter time. And I learned my lesson to now check the transfer hubs. Right,
Yeah,
like I said, that was a rookie mistake, and I admitted up to it, and I took care of my customers, and
best you can do. Things happen.
yeah,
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
things happen.
Absolutely.
Lesson learned.
Especially when one of the pieces was my homegrown Rapunzel torch that goes for $200 a head, and
Yeah.
it was a double head piece I sold for $378.99. So that's a tough pill to because that's not as replaceable as something else that I have 10 of.
Yeah, it's not an acropora arm. You can't just cut another one and epoxy it down.
Right. Yeah, my
It's
Rapunzel torch
slower.
takes a little bit. Yeah, it's a little slower to grow and propagate.
Oh,
So I had a delay. We actually had wildfires in the area a couple last week, and
yeah.
maybe I made a secondary rookie move. Didn't realize the Myrtle Beach airport was going to be shut down, so they took my 4 packages I shipped out, and that's about my average 4 to 8 a week. That week was 4 packages, and because they knew they were going to shut the airport down because of the wildfires, they trucked them all to Columbia, South Carolina. But then they didn't fly out till the next day.
Oh,
My saving grace was it was 70 degrees everywhere the boxes sat.
okay.
So it wasn't cold, it wasn't hot, and I think I had to replace one torch for a customer.
Okay.
And again, he bought. I was like, hey, he had a two-headed Nix, and he lost like a $50 Acropore.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I know you want the four-head because I had a four-head Nix as well for like $100 more. I was like, just pay for the shipping and I'll send you the four-headed Nix. And he ended up placing like a $200 order, paid for the shipping, and I just threw the Nix in his box, and he got that yesterday. Happy
Man,
day.
that's awesome.
Oh, that all worked out good.
Yeah, so it all works out. That's the risk we take as shippers. I mean, sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow, but
Yep.
we work that in. We work that in because it happens, and it just like when I get wholesale orders in, it happens.
Oh yeah, that part I know. You get stuff,
Sometimes
and your nose will tell you when you got a bag. You got a dead snail in a bag. Like there's nothing like
right, it happens.
ocean stuff that came from the Indo-Pacific through LA all the
Right.
way over to West Coast Florida. It's been 3 days, and when you open the bag, your nose knows instantly what didn't make it. It's
Yeah, but then I hear stories of my box was 4 days late, and I opened it up and everything made it.
yeah, they do from
Yeah,
overseas.
I'm
I
sure
know that.
you've heard that too. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that too. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's part of the business.
What's up, Dan? Well, that's very interesting. I knew there was some similarities, but I really was curious about the differences, and you certainly touched on that.
Yeah.
What's up, John Moore-Forge? John's
What
my
up?
defunct IT guy as far as my streaming. I got to talk to you later, John. We had some problems, and it still doesn't look great. We had to patch it together. It's a mash unit of a broadcast tonight. John at Moore-Forge. I'll be calling you tonight sometime. No, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Eventually, but
But
he
it's
helps me
working.
out.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. We got it live. We're here. So I want to go over some of the infrastructure of your tank and let you talk about that through the photos as opposed to everyone looking at our faces. I got these awesome pics from you, but some stuff that I'm aware of that I just want to touch base on. We talked about the aquariums, what you don't buy new, why, the price points, and so that was a very strong case.
Right.
Start
If you
from the
can
ground
find
up.
one that,
I know when I was getting out, Live Rock was being shut down. We used to get Tonga Branch, and Fiji had a look, and Vanuatu had a look, and Florida Live Rock was trash, and you didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because of mantis shrimp and algae. But we would get stuff imported, and there's certain kind of flora and fauna that would crawl out of those rocks at night. When you sit there with a flashlight watching the thing, was incredible, and it was kept live from ocean to me to the store, and then it got shut down. And then you touched on Live Rock being left to dry out and die. And now it's full of forever nitrate fuel. So nitrate fuel. So what is left of the Live Rock business? What rock do you go with? Why? And what sand substrate do you use? Let's start from that. And then let's go to like custodian critters, which are super important. And then let's go to your filter and your photos you got, if you don't mind. Walk us through
let's
this.
start at the bottom. I like the special grade sand. It's not too thin that the flow blows it around, and it's not too thick that the sand sifters can't sift it. So it's like imagine if you got a rice and quartered it, a rice granule and
And what
quartered.
was the brand again? Or the size?
It's special grade, and usually it's Carib Sea. I go at Carib
C
Sea.
still,
That's
okay.
my LFS pulls in, so we use Carib Sea. And they call it live sand. It's moist when it comes in. I have no proof up or down whether or not it has any benefit. I just
It's
know
not causing you an algae bloom. You're not getting a red mat across it. So then no harm, no foul.
you're always going to get that in a brand new setup. Always, you're always going to get a film, a diatom. You're always going to get that at the start of any new aquarium. It's the ugly phase. The first 2-3 months stink, no matter what you do and how you do it. Now to have established aquarium and pull rock over into the new setup, you're jump starting yourself. But if you're going to start bare, like let's go back to where we are. Special grade sand, not too thin, it's not too thick. So for the rock, again, I use the Carib Sea, but I use the white stuff, not the purple stuff. I feel that the paint prevents the stuff from penetrating into the rock like it needs to, because it almost looks like a paint slathered on there to make it look purple like coralline algae, but you're just blocking up all those pores and all that stuff for the
This is
bacteria.
inert. This is a dry,
Yeah,
harvested, mined rock that's like a what?
I I think it's made with. I think it's made like it's made. It's not pulled out of anywhere. It's made
Is that what
out
we're
of.
is that what it's we're doing now? Is that where it's at?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know.
Yes, it's made or harvested from places and bleached and cleaned and but a lot of it is made and a lot of the structures are made and they look darn near real rock.
Wow. See, I was man, we had fiberglass slap resin fake coral things, and they just were detritus caves. They just held all the poop and muck in them, and they were just these terrible. They're like those really corny reptile decorations you get at overpriced at
Right,
Petco or something. And that's what we had for coral structure back in the day, back when I was a kid.
right,
And so now this is a different ball game. And since Live Rock got shut down with importation, I was super curious because
right,
Tonga, I mean, there was so many cool ones. You would just hope to walk into a store and see their big old, tanks full of it. They'd keep them
right,
filtered, but they
right,
would be live, and you could pick out. You could go through and be like, "Oh, I like this one. Oh, this one will go
right,
perfect in my tank." And it was so cool to go and get stuff that had different shapes from different parts of the
right.
world. And I think if I got back into saltwater aquariums, I would miss that.
Now, some of the big stores like Worldwide Corals, I've been there. They're in Orlando. They're the heavy hitter in the game. They literally have a rock station in their store. And they have dry rock on one side, and then they got wet rock on the other side. And the wet rock is just what the dry rock is, but cycled and ready to go. And they charge you $14 a pound for it, as opposed to $5 a pound for it. But it's cool because they have a huge 4 foot long scale. So you can get the rocks you want and build the structure you want, and then you know how much weight you're buying, so you know what rocks to get. So you're not, because if you just order a case, you're stuck with what's in that case. Where if you can go to,
Yes.
so if you go to a place like that, you might pay a little bit more a pound, not getting a case, but you're getting the exact pieces you
Yeah,
want.
otherwise you're opening up a mystery box. I remember those. Yeah, lined with like an 8 mil thick plastic bag. It's a cardboard white
Right,
flat box. Yeah, you brought up the right word, Marcus, and I'd forgot it. Thank you. Base rock. We had base rock back then, and you get a live rock and base rock, and it was a good combo to get as much live rock as you can afford, but
right.
also the box of Caribbean, the white box with the blue stamp writing on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a mystery what you got in there. So having
So
a store where
this,
you can go
so
cherry pick is awesome.
this 6 foot tank, I went with 3 cases, and then I added a fourth case later. So I went with two of the round boulders, basically, right? Different size. They usually give you a couple big ones and a couple medium ones and a small one in there, right? And then I went with what they call shelf rock. So picture the boulder, and then they cut it clean with the saw right down the middle. So now you have a structure where you can put two boulders, and then you can put that flat piece like this. So it makes cool caves for all the fish and stuff to kind of. Actually, I think if I move my chair, you, oh, of course the camera angle just changed, but you can kind of see right here where it makes caves right here too. See over. I'm pointing on the camera, not the wrong thing. Right here where this guy is.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
it's like a flat cave, and it's on two bigger pieces. I'm sorry my angles are off here, but yeah.
Oh, I know. I know
Yeah,
what you mean. Left is
yeah.
right, right is left, up is down.
So I went with the combination so I could kind of stack and make because all these I have 6 tangs and they all like to have their own cave to live in. You
Yeah.
know, all the more caves you have, the more everyone's going to stay happy together.
Yeah, I see blue damsel. Looks like a 12 line wrasse. You got a file fish there. I saw a melanistic clown. I saw a blue tang surgeon. Looks like a coal tang
That's
surgeon there. A
yeah,
lemon wrasse.
a
There's another type of wrasse.
wrasse.
The
Yeah,
green. Yeah, there's obviously a yellow tang.
yeah. There's 30 in there. 30 fish in there. So this is fresh. This was taken a couple days ago. This loop. So, and then I actually just fragged this guy today. We fragged a bunch of him, both of these guys, the green one and the orange one. There you go. And we just fragged a bunch of them today. And I just went in there and I kind of needed to make room because some of the corals were just so big and they're growing into each other. And I actually think those corals are in one of the photos I sent you because I think it was in one of the
Yeah.
slides you did earlier. And I had to cut the green one back because the red one behind it, the Montipora, was just completely growing into it.
Let's look at some of these pictures, man, and walk us
Yeah.
through it. I'm trying to go
From
from a
the same mechanics of the tank, right? So we went from the sand, we did the rock.
Yep. Now I'm going to bring. Is this your
Salt.
salt of choice still?
This is my salt. I've been using this salt for 3 years, the Coral Pro salt. My recommendation is what you're using, use it. Keep it and keep using it. And if you're having success with it, don't change it unless for some reason you can't get it. I've always
I'm
been able
looking at
to.
I'm looking at these values down here on the bottom.
Right.
Calcium, magnesium, carbonate hardness.
So while it does mix at 11.5 on a 30-gallon water change, it doesn't raise my alkalinity. I keep my numbers at 450 calcium. I keep it at 1400 magnesium. So what's that say? 1350. And then my KH stays at 9. But the KH is the most consumed element. So even if I got up to 11, I have so much corals that it balances itself out within a day.
All right.
It's better than the other way around is using the other bucket, and the other bucket is less values on all of those, which means I would have to dose.
You need more supplements. Yep,
Right.
which is just more money. I remember Kent, and of course CChem had some great supplements back in the day. But it also was kind of you never wanted to get like a mystery mix of like, oh, Reef supplement and all in one bottle was a terrible idea. You had to really be a bit of a chemist and be on top of how much of each one you were adding: iodine, calcium, magnesium, and really be on top of it.
Yeah. And keep in mind, these photos are raw. I didn't try to make anything neat. I wanted to show you how it was. So this is literally in my closet. To the wall to the right, I didn't take a picture of it, but the wall to the right is basically the wall that goes into my master bedroom, and I have the water run to the bathtub. The drain from this also runs in through the wall and into the bathroom, and the drain runs down the drain. To the left, there's another wall, obviously, because it's my closet. To the left is literally on the other side of that wall is my 180-gallon aquarium.
Okay.
So I make all my water, again, when I was looking for my house when we moved, all this stuff was going through my head looking for a house. How am I going to make water?
I love this pantry, this eat-in kitchen. I could have guests over for bridge and lunch and
I
finger
love the
sandwiches.
Closet. I can make my water in the closet. Yes.
Perfect.
Only flooded it twice.
Let's see. Testing equipment, huh?
Well, there was one more with the water machine that had the bins that actually get the water.
I didn't download and email that one to myself. I did not do that one.
Okay.
I know what you mean as far as filling them, and then it's on an auto float system, so it shuts off and doesn't desalinate your float system in your sump, correct?
Right.
So you're always topping off evaporation because salt doesn't evaporate; it only concentrates.
Correct.
So having that thing auto top with fresh water, theoretically, if it's working as it should, then it's going to keep your salinity equal. Have you found that to be true?
Oh, it's absolutely true.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I actually I use a different kind of auto top off method that is a little bit more advanced reefing, but we can get into that if we have some time.
What are these little things? They look like vapes. What are these?
So the old school testers, and you'd add the drops, and then you'd have to compare the color to the chart, right?
Right.
These Hanna instrument checkers, and they make them for the freshwater too. Basically, it reads that color for you and gives you a number on a screen. So inside that container, there's a little vial, and it's got a cap on it, and you fill it with X amount of water, and depending on the test, you fill it with whatever component the direction says. You shake it for however long the direction says. You put it in the unit, press the button. Some of them, a timer goes down, and it'll take 2 minutes before it reads the color, and some of them are instant, depending on the time. And then it tells you what your numbers are. So this is telling me my nitrate when I took my test the other day was 32, which is about where I stay. I usually like to be more in the 25s, but 32 wasn't anything to panic. It was right before water change. My phosphate, that was actually a misread number because my previous tests were like 0.19, 0.20, And then I saw an oddball. Why is it 0.05 out of nowhere? Because I document every test. I document to compare. So I actually ran that again, and it came back up 0.21 like it should have. So
Shred, are you using Husbandry Pro? You can put in your own species. I'm just kidding.
Right.
That's a snake and reptile
yeah.
tracking service. That's really awesome. But is there anything like that? Are there any softwares out there, or do you just keep tracking a spreadsheet, or how do you do that?
So I have a controller on my aquarium that runs my entire aquarium. It keeps track of temperature, pH. That's that picture of that controller board. Oh, you
Oh
didn't
yes, I do
know?
have that coming up.
That's
Yes.
the best one.
Let's see here, bud. I do. Oh my gosh,
Yes. So that's my Hydros controller.
I love it.
And so that basically runs, that even makes my water for me in that back room.
What?
So
That tells your RO system on and off?
yeah, so my RO system has a low optical sensor. So once it runs down to that low optical sensor, it kicks off a solenoid that turns on the water, and it knows to keep it on for 2.5 hours, and then it
Oh
kicks
my
it off.
gosh. We had a glorified toilet float that was hollow plastic, and it would stick and it would get calcified, and it would stick, and
Yeah,
it could stick on.
I have that as a backup. That is a backup, the float valve. But yes. So, but this the unit to the top right is that's actually the Hydros X10, and you can actually see it looks like there's pink and yellow and red tubing coming out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
what that does is one of them sucks in clean water, and it sucks in clean water and it puts it into that beaker that says IV on it. See that black item right underneath it? Yes. So it'll fill that up with clean water. It'll spin a pill inside it, spin it around. Then the other pump sucks the water out. So basically, it cleaned out that vial. Then it'll fill it with another sample solution, and then it'll add a reagent to it and test alkalinity. And I
Oh
have
my
it,
gosh.
and you can
Fred,
have
are you getting all this?
so you can do that. I have it doing it 3 times a day. I'm pretty constant. I was doing it 4 times a day, but the reagent was only lasting like a week. So I was like, oh, let me cut it down to 3 times a day. So I do it 3 times a day, and it's cool to see that when the lights are on and the corals are really getting their photosynthesis, you see that alkalinity drop because those corals are taking in that energy. Then at night when all the elements are getting dosed, you see that alkalinity rise back up again, and then you see that constant swing because when you open up your phone, all of those things plugged into that Hydros unit or an app or have a tile on the phone tells me so that's dosing my elements as well. So to dose the tank, you have to add calcium and alkalinity and magnesium. That's what the corals need to survive.
Kalkwasser or no Kalkwasser?
So I am running a full Kalkwasser, 100% evaporation. That's why I said my ATO is a little bit different. My Kalkwasser runs anytime my pH is below 8.2, the doser turns on, and when it gets above 8.4, the doser turns off. So basically, that's about 18 hours a day. The Kalkwasser is dripping into my return pump, feeding these corals.
Well, good news is if you ever fall ill of health, you could hook this up for home dialysis and you'd be set, man. Just no more aquarium.
Yep. So
My gosh.
if my skimmer, which is basically the poop collector of the Reef
Oh,
aquarium,
yeah.
if my skimmer overflows, it knows to turn it off so it doesn't make a mess.
Because
So
you'll have concentrated foam poo feed back into your sump, and God, you
yeah.
don't want that.
So basically, there's a optical sensor that you put right below the overflow point, and if it senses water there, it kills power to it. You know
Golly.
that button box in the top middle there. There's 2 buttons on it. Yes, one button kills the flow pumps, so I can feed and it not have everything move all over. The second button kills everything for 30 minutes, so I can do a water change. One button, done.
I used to risk getting electrocuted all the time. One hand in the tank, sopping wet on both arms, reach down, put a foot on the power strip, and pull with the other hand, like make a complete circuit. We did that all the time.
So the reason this controller got set up, one, I wanted it, and two, I wanted it. But three was we were going to Europe for like 17 days. and we were going to have my daughter's teenage friend, a 14-year-old, basically house sit 2 dogs and my aquarium. And this was before I had Frag Tank and Misfit Corals, right? So I was like, I had to make it as easy as possible for her. Well, this even made the RO water. So when the caulk washer ran out, it still made RO for her. And I didn't have to, all she had to do was drop a cube of food in it every day. This took care of everything else for me.
Isn't that the girl that came up with the idea of the silicone freezer cubes that you had mentioned before? That it was made it so simple that you stuck with it and started liking it, right? You made
Yeah,
those up
so
ahead of time, and then you saw was a good fit for what you needed in the tank, right?
yeah, so well, my fish like different kinds of food, and my bigger fish like jumbo krill, and they almost look like like a tiny shrimp. They're like this big,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but they love them, but the small fish can't eat them. And a lot of the food you buy doesn't have it in there. So rather than getting like 6 bags out and popping off, I was like, well, I want to be able to feed in this, especially when we were leaving. We wanted Charlotte to be able to feed the same amount of food every day, not overfeed the tank. So I went on Amazon and I ordered like 3 different size of silicone molds, and now I get the 3 or 4 different foods I like. I defrost them all in a bowl. I add extra vitamins. I add garlic because it's actually good for the fish, and then I slather it in these molds. And I freeze them and I pop them in a Ziploc bag, and 1 cube is like just right for my 180 gallon. It's about a 1 by 1 inch octagon cube.
Gosh, I love it.
That's genius.
So now my big fish get their krill, the little fish get jumbo krill, the little fish get their mysis shrimp. There's chopped up clams. In my LFS, they actually started their own food company, and it's called Rasta's Reefs, and they actually get the fish right off the coast of Myrtle Beach, and they got they got a contract with the fishermen, and they get fresh fish, and they grind it up and add some other stuff to it as well. So I've been using that as my base, and then I add my other stuff to it.
That is awesome. That is really, really cool. That's a good concept. I think anybody can plug into their tank if it's sizable enough.
Especially because you can dial the cube into the right size that you need for your tank.
Yep, for sure.
So
So this was something of controversy back when I was in it. UV sterilization, to UV or not to UV? That was the question. And you are 24/7 UV, part of time, nighttime. What do you do?
24/7 UV. So remember the story where I said I had a 180-gallon aquarium that was cursed?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't add a new fish in that tank for over a year. I lost every fish but 3 to ick in velvet.
What?
Every fish but 3.
Hey, Rhonda.
And it was and that was when the new tank came up for sale. And I said, when you come and install that tank, make sure I want to order the biggest UV you can put on it. So that's a 57 watt, which is one size over what 180 gallon should be.
Uh-huh.
So and I run, and you can actually see the gray fitting on the left-hand downpipe. See that? That's actually a flow sensor that goes to the hydros controller, and that tells me how many gallons per hour is flowing through said UV. And then I have a ball valve so I can control how fast.
Slow or fast? How do you flow yours?
So
I thought it was slow.
So fast is for algae, slow is for ick and parasites. I'm on slow. So slow is like 1.5 to 2 times turnover. So I'm a 180 gallon tank, and it's like 250 gallons per hour running through that thing.
Okay. Ice Cap. They made the ballast that I was familiar with for metal halide, which was all the rage as mercury vapor and high pressure sodiums fell out of favor. Before LEDs, Ice Cap ballast were the best ones that there was on the market. Now I'm seeing Ice Cap making other electronic components, and you use a few of them. Can you talk about what Ice Cap's doing now?
So Ice Cap makes there's a good, better, and best. Let's put Ice Cap in the good to better, right? They're not quite in the best as far as equipment goes, but they make good equipment, and I like it, and I use it because it's affordable. I run their Ice Cap gyres. I run two in the back wall, and then I run the Max Specs, which is the best, on the top, on the left and the right. But these battery backups, if it senses a power loss, it keeps those flow pumps running for approximately 4 hours just to keep water flow going throughout the tank. So
How is
that's
that better than a UPS like that you would buy at Best Buy or a computer store or something? How are these different or better for battery backup? Are they more waterproof or
I
what do
wouldn't
you?
say they're any different or better, but they're specific made for the application. I think there was a Black Friday deal. They sent me two by mistake. They said keep it. So I run them. I only ordered one. They sent me two by mistake, so I run them in parallel, so they last longer.
Okay.
And there's actually Hydros makes a better unit. Hydros makes a power unit called the Kraken, and basically it looks like a car amplifier, but it's
Yeah.
basically a big electric transformer, and it gets rid of all your bricks. You have a power cord, and then it plugs into a brick, and then you have a utility cord that plugs into the wall. It gets rid of all those bricks, and you can run a battery backup on it that'll run your tank for a day. And the battery it runs is like a $50, $60 battery you can go get at AutoZone.
Oh, okay.
So these are the dosing pumps. The bottom left is our alkalinity, and the bottom right is the calcium.
Yep.
So those run on a schedule. So they're 20. Each of them are 25 milliliters a day. They start at 7 p.m. and run through the night for 6 hours, but they only they'll kick on and dose 5 milliliters and stop. But then the calcium and alkalinity, you can't dose them together or they'll participate in the water together.
Yep. Turns to snow. Yep.
They're on a 30-minute schedule. And then that top doser was the Kalkwasser drip.
Okay. Cool. There's so much technology, man. Now I feel like this has just come leaps and bounds. It's impressive.
So this is the frag tank. This is more of the caveman style. No controller. Everything's just kind of plugged into some power strips, and I got toggles on each power strip. So if I need to kill an outlet or kill the return pump, I flip the toggle switches, and I'm a stickler for labeling all of my power cords. So
Well, yeah.
I know what's what, and I know what I'm kicking off.
Talk about what are these fan looking items, man?
So those are the lights.
Oh,
Those are the lights. So I got 5 of those over the frag tank. Do you have the full frag tank photo?
I'm sure I do, but I don't know. Yeah, I do right here. Yeah.
There you go. So those are the 4 lights, and so the left 2 are on the same schedule. They provide like a medium light for medium light corals. The middle light there that looks like it's on a gooseneck, the third one in line, that's actually the low par section. And then all the way to the right, I have 2 stacked right next to each other, and that's where all the SPS are in my high par section.
What's that Inkbird monitoring and running?
The Inkbird is running 2 heaters. So
Sweet.
so instead of running a 200-watt heater, I run 200-watt heaters, and you run them on the Inkbird. So this way, if one does fail, there's still a second heater running.
I can't get mine to do night drops. Supposedly, I think I have just about that exact same model with a 2-outlet pigtail coming off of it.
Yeah.
And I can't get the night drop to work properly on it. I got it brand new, and I haven't been able to figure it out. I even watch YouTube stuff, and I cannot figure it out.
But Inkbird's good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It holds up.
I got to figure it out. It's killing me.
And I run one on the big tank, too. It's even though so the Inkbird gets plugged into the Hydros as like a third backup. So the Inkbird does what it does, and it kicks on. I have it set to 77 degrees. But if for some reason my tank gets to 80 degrees, it'll just turn off the outlet that the Inkbird's plugged into.
So you said something interesting. You said this plugs into 2 heaters. And with this much technology and this kind of lumens of lighting that are on this tank, back then we would be running an air conditioning chiller. Do you run a chiller? Do you have a balance for that? Or do you just strictly need heat because things are so energy efficient, solid state LED now?
Well, my main tank does run T5s, so those get hot.
Okay.
But we keep our house at a constant 72 to 74 degrees, so there's no issue with the heat that I have come across yet. I don't think my heaters do much, though. I bet if I turned off my heaters, I bet my tank stays right about that 76, 77 where I want it. So yes, that's the main display. So like on that previous tank, I had 5 lights. Well, these hydras, each one hydra, which is the lights down the middle, each one square is like 2 of the other lights on my other tank. So this is like the equivalent of having 8 of those lights running down the middle, and then for 6 hours of the day, the four T5 lights kick on as well.
Visually, I notice a huge difference in lighting now from what it was. I know, like, there was actinic blue, 55, 6500 Kelvin, the higher number, more yellow, but where everything seems almost borderline black light now. It's so crisp white blue and a black light fluorescence out of the animals that I'm sure existed before, but we weren't seeing it due to the
Well, as you
lighting
can see,
technology.
I don't run my lights that way. The way you see this, there's no filter. That was a DSLR camera with no filter, and that's how my tank looks when you look at it. When the
Okay.
T5 is on.
There's not, so what?
That's user choice. That
Okay.
black light look where it looks like everything's glowing in the dark. I'm not a big fan of that look. I thought it was cool, and then I did it for like a week, and I like a little happy balance. Um, at night, some my lights peak down, and I get that for like 20, 30 minutes at the end of the night, and I can look at like my cool jelly bean chalice that's right here in the corner. That's really cool under just blue lights. It glows and it has all those luminescence. But I like to see the fish swimming. I like to in the corals like that white light. Those T5s, Kirk acropora, and hard corals like you wouldn't believe.
Really? Okay. Okay. That's awesome. That is awesome to know because I just felt like I was seeing a different, maybe a new school of science had come to it.
Not T5s are rolling out. I got into the T5s right as the like put it this way, I got that T5 that fixture for the T5s is made by Aquatic Life, which made T5s for years and years and years.
Yep.
Right after I bought mine, they came out with an LED version. So it's the same kind of fixture, and I put my LEDs down the middle, but instead of having the T5s on the runners, it just has more LEDs on the runners. And then what guys do is they get those in actinic blue, very very blue, so it just makes any green or orange coral just like pop and glow. And like I said, I like it, but it's not necessary to show the beauty of the aquarium and the fish and the corals.
Right. Let's touch on your physical filtration if we can. Let's see here.
So the old school way is filter socks.
Yep.
I will never clean and rinse a filter sock and then put it in my washer machine with bleach ever again. These devices are called filter rollers. This one's actually made by Red Sea. I run the same thing but smaller on my frag tank, and it's just like a toilet paper roll. The water flows into a box chamber, and then that roll there's an actual optical level sensor in it. So as the filter clogs up with matter, you can see the back roll is dirty. As it fills up with matter, the water level rises. It hits that water sensor and it spins the wheel.
Oh,
And then the benefit of this is you don't have all the old material rotting in the filter sock. It's pulling it out of the water within hours of it getting collected onto that fleece. And those last about 2 months, 2 to 3 months for a roll.
huh.
And it tells you on the app how many days you got left to go. It gives you an alert.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And they overdo it because when they tell you got 1 day left, I sometimes I go about an extra week.
How do
So
you keep your salt creep down? Why is everything so clean? I'm used to salt creep everywhere.
tell
What?
you
How?
what, I've done a good job on that. I haven't had to do much. It's not a daily occurrence. It's not a weekly occurrence. Maybe I'm just clean and anal about it. I do a weekly water change. The whole rim gets all cleaned off. All the glass gets cleaned once a week. That's it. My
I'm
net
used to like
is
just
dirty.
tons of cake salt, brother.
Nope,
Like
and
all
that's
of.
never been. I cleaned that unit one time ever in 2 years, and it cleaned
What?
maybe 8 months ago. When I say cleaned, like besides changing the roll, because it's just an empty box down there, and there's a piece of plastic so the roller can kind of follow the contours of it, so it goes down and in. But besides that, like you lift that red handle up and that whole thing pivots down and the roll pops right off.
Mm.
Untwist, pop a new roll on, and it's a little messy to kind of feed the new roll through. But once you come up with the system, it's fine.
See, Dread, I'm so old. Even the water and the salts changed since I last was dealing with it.
Yeah, and then the protein skimmer. Yeah, there you go. So that's what collects all the organic waste that doesn't make it that makes it past the filter roller.
Yeah, but if you're gonna do like what he's doing, you got to have this stuff. I mean, just for
You
the
have to.
ease of it and
You
the
Oh
know,
well, a protein skimmer. I was
redundancy.
always taught you get the biggest, tallest, most expensive protein skimmer you can possibly afford if you want a successful tank.
you can see that overflow sensor hanging off and magnetically sticking to the side of it, right to the right hand side of that cup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so that's the overflow sensor, correct. So if it does get a little high and triggers that sensor, it won't go up and flow back into the tank.
And sea dread, when you need a little cup of coffee in the morning and want to get some of that
Right.
goodness of the algae and the
There you
seaweed,
go, man.
right? That's like a,
And that's just basic equipment. Every aquarium needs mechanical filtration, and in my opinion, a reef tank needs a protein skimmer.
oh God, you can't not have a protein skimmer. I think that's the magic. That froth on the beach where the water laps up, that's
Yep.
the protein skimmer of nature. If you're not replicating that, you're just that you may as well not even have a saltwater tank.
Right. And then next to that, I don't know if you have one next to yeah, that picture all the way to the right in the top row.
Oh, not that one.
Not that one.
This one.
Yeah. So that's right to the right. You can see the skimmer to the left there. That is an algae turf scrubber. So basically that's an empty box that's 6 inches deep front to back. And there's a light on the front and there's a light on the back. It's sandwiched like this. And then hanging in between it looks like a clear screen. And water pumps up in it and trickles down that screen and it grows green hair algae inside the sump.
And that doesn't get loose, and it's just a wives' tale. That stuff would get loose in your tank, and
the fish eat it. When I clean the algae turf scrubber, I pull the whole sheet out, and it's like a softball every week that it pulls out of algae, and I literally will get it and throw it in the tank, and the tanks go nuts over it like piranhas.
what? This is awesome. So this is like a new refugium. Is that right?
It's basically a refugium, but they call it an algae turf scrubber. It's growing algae there and not behind me in the main display.
Wow.
Yep, and that runs 24 hours a day as well. Never shuts off all day long.
The light is 24, or is
Yep, the light
photosynthesis for
runs
24. It doesn't burn. It doesn't mess up their photosynthesis cycle.
Nope. Now, if say your nutrients are getting stripped too much, which mine aren't. You saw my nitrate test. I was at 32. So if my nitrates were 5, that's connected to my hydros unit, and I could put it on a schedule to only run 6 hours a day.
Dude, this is awesome.
So right now it's not on a schedule because I need it to keep growing, because as it's growing algae, it's sucking up those nutrients and it's not growing it in the display tank.
Golly.
I'm
This is
glad you're
awesome.
excited about all the equipment and how the stuff works.
This
That
is
is that is the reagent. Oh yeah, that is the reagent that does the alkalinity test. So
oh
and it's cool how that alkalinity test works. There's a pH probe in that beaker. And the beaker was on the control board, but as that pill is spinning and it says the pH is 8.4, right? It adds this liquid, which is an acid that reduces pH. So once the pH in the beaker reaches 4.5, it calculates how much liquid it used to get to that point to calculate your alkalinity. Did I lose you?
no, this is amazing. I can't believe there's
And it's safe for your aquarium. So when it drains it right back into the sump, so you don't even lose water.
The math problem in the background is what's blowing my head. Not the concept to state it out loud and why it functions, but the damn algebra or trig or whatever that is in the background, the computer that figured that out. This is insane.
I cross reference it to other tests, and it's within a half a DKH, which is good enough for me.
Dude, that's crazy. That's
that
good.
as a reference. I use that as a reference because it'll set an alarm to my phone that it's 7 or something. So, or if it's 12, either way, if I get an alert that it's for whatever reason too high, at least, okay, now I know I got to look at something or I had a faulty test. So these are cooling fans. So, like I said, I drip Kalkwasser to max evaporation. Well, sometimes it might just drip a little too much, or I might not evaporate enough. So I have an optical sensor in my sump. So if the water level gets too high in the sump, it triggers two fans that help promote extra evaporation. So the sump level
Wow.
will get back down to where it needs to be.
I didn't know what that was. Okay.
That's what that. So they're cooling fans. They're designed to be cooling fans. I'm using them to help in evaporation. So those are flow pumps in the frag tank. Those are just JABO. They're copies of the Aqua Illuminations, and that's all I run the frag tank on. And the frag tank is a very simple setup.
Are those just like what we used to call power heads? Are they just for circulation?
Yep, and they pulsate and they go on and off with each other, and they're linked with each other, so they can either do it together or opposite each other,
How come they're so small and low profile now?
because that's how they make them.
Oh my
That
God.
pushes, and those things are set at 1 out of 10.
Man alive.
Well, I guess we just got page 1 of our qualification book signed
Right.
off. But you're
So
right.
those are the good, remember, good, better, best. Ice Cat makes the middle grade. This guy's the best. These are the max spec gyres, and I have one at each end of the tank, left and right. And they push water and they meet kind of in the center, but then they alternate. So it's like they kind of, this one goes 60% and this one lows up, and they kind of, but the way the water hits and it flows, it kind of turbulates this way. And then on one of the other photos, I have two gyres on the back walls as well, and they push water through the rocks. I don't think you have it. Yes, right there. So those are on the back wall situated, and those blow straight through the corals and straight through the rocks to kind of help that dead zone a little bit.
So you guys have really addressed. We knew that was an issue, and I know that it just in my own keeping was starting to tinker with counter cross flow, and then there was starting to be some very expensive technology to simulate weather and storms and clouds overhead with your lights, and there was starting to be wave timers, and that was like new tech back then. So now they've simplified it and kind of programmed it into the settings on these things.
You can actually have your lights go on the moon phase, and
Yeah.
it'll actually follow the moon phase that you're where you live. So when it's full moon here, like I think tonight or next night, the moonlight will be the brightest, and then as the moon wanes, you'll come out. I'll come out to get ice cream at 11 o'clock at night or something, and it's cool when it's full moon because you can almost go and look in your tank and kind of see what's happening. And I, I think it's a gimmick. They say you can get corals to spawn with it because it's actually on a moon cycle. Uh, I just turned it off and I let my fish sleep at night. Honestly, I played with it for a little bit, and I think it's more of a visual aspect, kind of like the lightning mode. I mean, I don't think there's any need for that. So that's everything. Full bore out of the skirt. I tried to get everything in the shot.
Oh, there's a control board. Okay.
Control board right next to it. Right. I tried to get everything in one shot. I even think the lights are in the shot. It's just the bar.
They are.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the full Monty with the skirt up, and that's my baby, man. I'm really happy with it. I'm like I said, after I almost quit with the previous tank that sat in that position. I mean, I had a support with a couple buddies that did this near me, and they kind of said, give it one more shot. Come on, let's give it one more shot. And I figured it out. It took a couple of years of pain, and like I said, I lost every coral twice and all my fish once. And that was when the transition happened. I had the 3 fish that made it, and one of them's the blue hippo that you see swimming by.
Yep.
He's one of the survivors. When I did the new tank transfer, and I actually hired my LFS because they had to remove the old tank and put the new tank in place the same day. I didn't have room to put another tank. So when I pulled those 3 fish out, I put them in quarantine, and then I let the tank run fallow with no fish in it. Because I had the new system put in, and I had it run fallow for 72 days. And I quarantined every fish I put in it, and the ick still popped up. But I had the UV sterilizer running 24 hours a day. It keeps it at bay. every now and then the ick pops up. I'm a firm believer that it's like ick is you're just never going to 100% get rid of it. It's it's always going to be present. It's going to come in on a snail. It's going to
I
come in.
I think that's entirely true, man. And running the UV sterilizer and reducing the amount of stressors, just like a snake, right, Dred? If
Right,
their
Right.
environment's not good, they're going to be more susceptible to respiratory infection or
right,
something. But if their
right,
So
immune system's up, they fight off these little bugs that live amongst us. Same for humans. Your
right,
immune system's down, you're more likely to catch things. And
right,
so you're going to have to coexist with ick. And whether it takes over and gets a hold of your animal or it doesn't is kind of up to your husbandry, in my opinion.
right. So yeah, so that's my baby. I love it. Um, I'm excited that we're actually getting that new 120 I told you about, and that's
Yeah.
and it's basically going to be like this, but it's going to be a working SPS grow out tank. My plan is to grow all the high end acroporas. I've already started getting frags, and I've already started growing them out, and I already know what's getting ready to go
so
in that.
what would be your ultimate goal? I mean, maybe that is your ultimate goal, bringing that new tank in this hobby, and I mean, what do you want to
So
achieve?
so as far as the hobby, or as far as the hobby, I'm happy with where my skill level is. Obviously, we learn more and more every day, right?
Right.
I'm still learning about corals. Believe it or not, there's corals that sometimes I get them in I've never had before, never touched before. I bubble coral for the first time the other day. You know, so my plan for Misfits corals is right outside here to my right here. There's a door and an empty space in the backyard, and I want to get like one of those pre-made sheds, kind of put it on a little concrete foundation, and kind of start a little bit of a coral farm type of situation, a little bit more than a 48-inch frag tank and a couple display tanks.
Yeah.
I want actual low boy farm tanks where I can get 100 torches in from Indonesia, and I have a place to quarantine them and grow them and harvest them and you
This
know
is awesome. I love that. Dred, do you not hear the similarities to rodents and snakes, like breeding? I'm going to build me a snake shed or a rodent shed out back,
Can
and I'm going to put together 6 more pairs next year. And
Right, and
it's
that's
just,
the
I mean,
thing,
there's a
it's
lot of
all relative.
similarities.
right? Because I mean, to get stuff in from overseas, you need to get hundreds, boxes with an S, and they need to be filled. And a lot of times, you don't know what you're going to get. We're going to send you 2 boxes of torches. They might be all garbage, or they might be all gold. They might be
Right.
all the same. They might be all different. But now you got them when they come. And so you need those 8 foot long, 3 foot wide coral flats. But think about it, now you need lights and pumps and sumps, skimmers that make my little one look like a tea kettle you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
so I priced it out, and we're in the you're that's why I'm getting the 120 first. We'll just do a little baby steps first, because I started this. I got the license in September. I had my first sale in October. So my wife kind of said, let's give it the year before you do the shed thing. Let's give it the full year.
Yeah,
Smart.
make sure it's something you can handle, right? We
What's up,
we talk
Brian?
Right,
about that a lot too, and the same in this
right.
hobby. Make sure it's something you can
Bro,
handle.
thanks for rolling through,
Slow
gentlemen.
grow it.
It's a
Figure
full
out
time
right.
job.
Work out all the bugs and all the
It really
kinks.
is.
It's a full time job. So I work from home. I'm sitting where I work, and my frag
Right
tank is
on.
my frag tank is right here. I'm a systems engineer and I work off for a Mac. I work for a children's hospital, and I work on all their Apple Mac computers.
No
That's
wonder the
awesome.
tech and the wiring and the plumbing. He made it sound so simple. The guy's over here, he's a learned man with this stuff. He works in it. And then we're over here like going, how in the hell do you plug this thing in? This guy's got it all mapped out already. And
Yeah,
that explains it.
because I'm bored with working with the Mac stuff. So let's make my aquarium as smart as could be. So yeah,
That's beautiful.
It's all similar to equipment, that we use for water chemistry, water processing, and the
right,
cogeneration and power plant industry. Whether it's a steam turbine or boiler, I mean, whatever you're doing, right? It's all similar type equipment,
right,
monitoring your filtration, things like that,
right.
and you have a level of redundancy that you have to have that.
Well,
With
look how
your
much
investment, you
look
have to
how much
have
I
that.
got in here.
Right.
Once everything started growing and everything, like I said, I gotta
Yeah.
overpower. Like so, you showed them battery backups. I gotta
That's insurance right there,
but I got
So,
an overpowered generator with 20 gallons of fuel and three
yep.
cans of propane at the ready as well.
Yep.
Like there was an ice storm that
Yeah.
we actually got snow this winter, and I actually had the generator up on the porch with the fuel and like ready to go. Like, and we just rescued a dog, and my daughter works at a horse ranch, and they had a stray dog, and it was a hunting dog that somebody released. The dog was pregnant and had 8 puppies the day it snowed. And they need heat lamps and all that kind of stuff, fresh newborn puppies. And so now I got a frag tank with 15 grand worth of inventory. I got a display tank with who knows how much worth of
Right.
oil. And now I got eight puppies in my daughter's room. I had extension cords, I had a backup generator, I had everything ready to go, and we didn't lose power. We didn't lose power.
I bought a generator this winter and I haven't lost power and I should be out of that. Although there's tornadoes predicted as a possibility here tomorrow, but
Yeah,
I bought a Honda gas generator and to run because
It's
now there's
it's
too much
hey, it's
money.
good to have it. We do too. We'll get out here and run ours once in a while to make sure it's running. Is you
right,
don't know.
right,
And aside, and you could attest to, what's more than just the money of replacing the animal is the time. We grow a female snake for 2, 3, 5, depending on the species, 5 years, six
right,
years. Do you even try to breed? I didn't say
Yeah.
succeed. I said try. And you lose her in a cold snap because you weren't prepared. You
right.
just set yourself back. And God knows, don't even just take out of the equation what you paid for that animal. That much time waiting to make something happen. And the same with yours. Your corals, they don't grow overnight.
Like this
The
big one
time.
here, this big guy here. That's 2 years.
Is that a
You
cat's
know,
paw?
maybe that's what they called it in your day. We called it a purple stylophora.
Back in my day.
Right. I'm just saying, but but it takes years
Yeah,
to get that big. It's
it's
not
a
like
very
a six
dense
month
body.
thing,
Yeah.
right?
You
You lose that, and you've just lost years to get to that point. That's a
Right.
very
yeah.
dense. Those are
Like that,
usually ornamental and bleached on people's shelves in their
right?
bathroom or something. Those are very thick, heavy skeletons.
Right. So this guy actually has got a lot of fluff to him, and actually has a thinner skeleton. So what's cool about him is you can see he's kind of on the edge near the glass, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the big fish swim by, they always snap off frags for me. That's like free 30. That's like $35 for free right there.
Yeah.
Thanks Dixie. And all that. There's actually probably you can see it in the photo. There's in the bottom left there. There's a piece that's actually fell off, and it's either Dixie or the yellow sail or the yellow
It,
fox face. And if they're swimming for food real fast, they'll hit a branch on the end, and it's good because it keeps it away from the glass. Because it's like I'm about this close from the glass on that coral.
What
And
kind of triggerfish is that? Is that a?
so those are blue jaw triggers, and they're a mated pair.
Oh
I
wow!
got a male and a female in there. Yeah. So
And they're
the
not tearing up your stonies in there.
nope, they don't. They're the one trigger that you can actually get away with in an aquarium. Every now and then, it looks like piranhas going after something, and like they each have an end of it. Like I'll see them getting a hermit crab, and they have it, and they're fighting over it, and like they're dropping it, and you can see its legs moving, and they go back after it. But it's like I've seen that like twice in a year.
Yeah,
And
you mentioned hermit crab. Before we let you go here, is that we are getting close. We're at 90 minutes already. Tell me about your favorite custodians. I know there was starting to be when I got out of it Halloween hermits and different different hermit crabs that were ornamental, not just the basic ones. And we say hermit crabs. It's different than the one at the pet store that kids
yeah.
get the size of an
right,
apple. They're little. They're little or the size of your thumbnail, and they're little custodians. And the same with cleaner shrimp, sea
right,
slugs, sea cucumbers, nudibranchs, stuff like that were maybe a little dicier, but the sea cucumber and the cleaner shrimp, things like that, or algae crabs, there, certain ones that were used and sought after. Do you have custodians that are your go-to for sure?
So obviously, I have snails. I got all the different kinds of snails you can get. We're talking 50 of each. 50 trochus, 50. There's 3 different kinds. They're all hard to pronounce. So I got at least 50 of each of those. Turbo snails is the other one, and astrea is the third one. And then I grabbed a whole bunch of hermit crabs. And my LFS goes, oh, these guys are from the Marshall's Islands. Marshall's
Oh,
Islands hermit crabs. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, they all got to the size where they needed a turbo snail shell because they're no golf ball size shells. So
Yeah.
luckily they didn't get any bigger than that. It seems to be that was where they stopped growing. But within a year, they went from what looked like a little periwinkle shell to now they're hauling around these big golf ball size shells, and they got this huge white claw. And I don't know, I must have 10 of them cruising around, and it's hilarious because when I go and feed the tank, they're all falling off the rock and upside down, and their legs, because they're all trying to get to where the food's going. And then I started this tank with 4 cleaner shrimp, peppermint cleaners. I got one left, and he does his job, man. He's always up there cleaning up on the tangs, and it's cool. You'll put your hands in there, and they'll come and crawl up on your hand, and you
Yep.
can feel them picking on your scales. So that's still around. And peppermint shrimp, I always have peppermint shrimp. They're good for aptasia. Um, it's like everyone's gonna get aptasia no matter what you
Which
do.
is a little mini, highly stinging anemone. It's like a little simple, ultra simplistic anemone that's very small, but they can get in big numbers. They have a high sting, a lot of punch for their size,
That's
and they'll hurt
anemone.
your other corals. And they
Yeah,
are a bane up there. They're up there with red slime and purple
right.
and a green hair algae. They're just one of
Yeah.
those things that are like, oh my god, go away.
When you try to kill them, four pop up in its spot. That's the problem. And the best way is when the natural predator kills it, they go away. I've
Yeah,
had a copper band butterfly in luck. Unfortunately, he didn't make it long
those
term.
are one of the toughest. I feel like
I'm 0 for 4,
they're
and
one of the hardest fish to keep.
I'm 0 for 4. But I was almost at the point of infestation, and he cleared out my tank in like a week. He made it about a year. I was aptasia free for about a year. And since I've lost him, I've replaced him with, and you pointed him out earlier, I had a filefish.
Yep.
And I haven't been seeing aptasia in the display tank. He does go after some of my corals, but he doesn't go after my desirables. Goes after
It's a trade off of it's a little bit of
right.
tax to pay,
He
but
goes
for the
after the
greater.
zoas. He goes after the zoas, and I'm not a zoanthid fan. The zoas are the little polyps that
Okay, yeah.
he goes after those, and to me they're a weed, and I don't have desirable ones in the display. So if him picking at them kind of keeps him at bay for me. So again, it's that trade off.
Nice. Dred, what do you got, man? Give us a good question.
Oh, sea urchins, 2 sea urchins. They keep they also mow down on the algae.
Really?
Okay,
Okay.
so one thing I got, I guess, you have this nice system set up behind you, right? Everything's in there thriving, going together. What's your process? I'm say you want to introduce a new species or a new fish to that tank. What'd be your process? Because I mean, I know not all fish is compatible with other fish and
Right.
environments and things like that. Maybe talk
So
about that a little bit.
I did this recently. A NASO tank came available, and again I've lost 3, and I was like I'm gonna try one more time. If he swims by, I'll point him out. Um, I didn't do anything. I brought him home. I drip acclimated him. Usually the fish store keeps them at point 0.20 a 0.021 salinity. So I just drip acclimated them until I
Excuse me.
got him up to 0.026. I popped him in. I made sure he was of decent size as to not get picked on. There's the naso tang right there in the middle of the tang in the top. He just went off the
Yep.
camera. And I made sure he was of appropriate size. He got chased for maybe the first afternoon. And the next day, he was eating like a champ and going after everything. I've lost more fish trying to quarantine them than just putting them in the tank. I have
Okay.
I have confidence that I feed good foods. I feed algae once a day as well, and algae sheets. I feed that cube of frozen food, and I run that UV, and I do my water changes, and I keep everyone happy. And I had no ill effects. The last few fish I've added that way.
Cool.
Awesome.
Have you ever toyed with a low salinity, almost freshwater, a low level brackish? Because I don't, again, this may be debunked by now, but your fish itself can withstand it for the 10 minutes to 30 minutes, whatever the adaptation is. But that the osmotic membrane of surface parasites they can't handle fresh water and they explode and die. And then you slowly resalinate your fish to the tank's level and then introduce it, where basically the fish gets a freshwater bath. I mean, the extreme
Right.
version was using a copper bath, but that's not really applicable. You don't want a drop of that going in the wrong way into your tank if it's
Right.
not dosed.
So how that works today is the quarantine is the copper bath, and they're in that for 30 days. So basically, quarantine is in a copper bath. Any of the fish stores you go to, unless it's a sensitive fish, there's a say half to quarter dose of copper in those holding tanks at the fish store at all times. And that's also why you never want to put fish store water in your display tank.
Great tip.
Great
Great.
tip. There we go.
There is copper in that water, most likely 100% of the time. Never put the fish store water in there, even if it's your buddy. So then, if you see flukes on the surface of your fish, and those attack the gills and the eyes, you can definitely take. If you can catch the fish, and that's the problem. If you can catch the fish, you can give them a freshwater bath for, I think it's 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then literally pop them right back in your tank because it kills the flukes instantly.
Yeah.
But then you have to do it again because the eggs, it doesn't get the eggs. So it gives them instant relief, but the eggs might still hatch in 3 days, 2 days, whatever the cycle is. So
Okay.
there is like a formula where you dip them, you put them back in the quarantine tank, then 3 days later you freshwater dip them again, and there's a method to do it. The other quarantine method is the tank transfer method. That I don't do it that way, but there's no chemicals involved. But it goes off of the life cycle of the ick and the parasite. So when the ick drops off, you get that fish out and put it in another clean, sterile tank. Then if the eggs hatch again, you move it again into another clean, sterile tank, and you do that 3 or 4 times.
I get the physical concept of it, but it sounds like terribly stressful to the fish.
They call it
Yeah.
the tank transfer method. So again, I said I've tried quarantining when I went through that whole ick loss thing, and I lost. I seemed like I was at a 50% success rate. And it's like at this point, why am I even trying? So that's why I just started relying on my equipment and going from there. And I do the same thing in my frag tank, and I'm going to do the same in my other tank. I
Good.
feel the more stress stresses them out. Putting them through quarantine or just putting them in your tank. Where would you want
Right.
to be? Would you rather be in chemicals that taste funny or smell funny or whatever a fish does, right? In a glass box with the PVC pipe, or would you rather try to figure it out with all the other buddies in the main system?
Right. In a more healthy, established environment for sure.
Right. So that's just my method. And I no offense to anyone that quarantines. It didn't work for me. It did not work for me, so I went a different route.
Sweet. Well, man, this has been super informative. So the best place to find you by large is TikTok, right? Catch you on
Correct.
TikTok, Misfits
Yeah.
Corals.
Misfits Corals. And then my website, if you want to see any of my product or if there are any aquarium guys out there, it is just misfitscorals.com.
Okay. Absolutely.
Nice.
I want to check that out myself. But yeah, I've definitely been watching your lives for a while on there, and so I always love your interaction. And you're so patient with viewers and how people ask questions, how you explain things, and so that's super good.
Yeah.
As far as attracting a new audience and making people feel welcome, I feel like that it only grows a community, which was the whole idea. So
Absolutely.
appreciate you taking some time tonight, and hopefully you're ready for dinner. Have you eaten already? You're gonna eat now?
Well, yeah, I had my kids picked up Chick-fil-A, so I had a couple quick bites beforehand.
Nice. Well, we'll let you get about your evening, good sir.
Have a good
And we'll
night,
see you
Tony. Thanks for
backstage.
joining us, man. Come on back to the campfire anytime. This
All
was
right.
awesome. And love to see what you got cooking, in the future. How this is. We want to see that shed when you get it
The
built.
farm, the
Yeah.
frag
Yeah,
farm.
Yeah.
we'll definitely have to come back and do an update, even if it's just a quick guess one time.
Oh,
and,
you bet.
do a
Sweet.
quick update.
Thanks so much for your time tonight, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw you backstage, and we're gonna play us out here. All right, let's see, moving that one. Well, Dredd, we fought through some technical difficulties. This has been, I don't know why the camera crap worked like it did, but at least we found a way to get functional temporarily. So I sped up this scene. I didn't do anything but change the background, and for some reason, our videos wouldn't, our faces wouldn't play on it. So we had to just wing it a little bit, but awesome. And I'm so glad we had so many great photos from Tony to show and then kind of go in depth about that. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Great show, man. Very good. Good
This
show.
hopefully is a good resource for people to look at. I mean, live viewers, this, that, but there's
Yeah.
always, it's on YouTube for good. So hopefully we can find, this is like a good resource.
And I mean,
reference.
seriously, right? You're getting into the salt water like that, the reef. That's a whole different ball game. You know, here I'm thinking I can go right, get me a small tank, get some stuff, and you're gonna have bumps in the roads and figure it out. Well, once you see what he's got going, do your research, okay? Step your game up so you're not right. Do this for a while, get used to it. Maybe before you even add fish to your tank, get everything settled in and
Yeah, it sounds like,
how
it's
everything
the
ebb
way
and
to go.
flows and educate yourself to the T, because just like Tony was saying, he almost walked away from it, 2 years battling that. Maybe you can save yourself some trouble by listening to what Tony's experienced.
And it's, it sounds receptive to questions. Hop on his
Yeah.
TikTok lives, get in there, say, hey, I've done this, that, and the other. I've got some other ideas. What am I doing wrong? So definitely a resource to reach out.
Oh,
It's an awesome
absolutely.
community of, the exotic pet community. That's really, that's what we're looking for, is some similarities. And enjoy the differences and see where we can find common ground, whether you keep sugar gliders or kangaroos or snakes or saltwater reef. I mean, that's the cool part. We all got a love for the animals and doing it the right way. At least I hope so. Cool, brother. All right. Well, I'm gonna play our guy one more time. Dread. Next week, Beck's Bobtails, live from Australia. Beck's Bobtails, shingleback skinks. I don't think you can even get those in America. We're gonna find out.
I don't think so.
I don't think you can.
I'll get us some.
All right, man. You have a great rest of the night, good sir.
You bet, brother. Love you, big dog. Thanks, guys, for hanging and watching us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yes,
And
sir.
enjoy y'all's evening.
All right, buddy. See you, bro.
It's called EPIC, the Exotic Pet Industry Conference, and it's free to register at epic.live. EPIC is over 20 special guests across 16 sessions covering industry trends, marketing, branding, podcasting, and YouTube. EPIC is for pet keepers and breeders. It's for gecko and invert lovers. It's for snake and spider lovers. EPIC is for anyone who enjoys these amazing animals. Did I mention it's free? Register now at epic.live.